Hello, and welcome to the latest installment in our UXDX online series. I hope you're as excited as I am for the lineup of speakers that we have this evening, and it's going to be another fantastic event. But before we jump into the talks, I want to give a very quick introduction to UXDX and why we host all of these talks. So at UXDX, our mission is to help companies shift from building software using waterfall projects to empowered autonomous product teams. And the reason why that's our mission is because when you're working in a high change environment, it's more innovative, more effective, more efficient to be able to kind of have a team that's dedicated to understanding the customer and able to iterate quickly and solve for their needs. If you're not in a high change environment, it makes sense to build a project team, put them on something, move them somewhere else. But a lot of the companies I've worked in recently, there's 100 plus projects going on at any given time. So there really isn't any part of the product that isn't being touched almost continuously. And that brings us on to the talks. So what we do is we invite people to come and share their stories about how they're shifting their ways of working. Now, the whole way of changing is too big for any given talk. So we ask people to share their slice of what they're changing. And you can listen to that and try to figure out how that might be applicable in your context. Now, hopefully, as you're doing that, you'll get some questions. And the speakers and I would love if you can share those questions as well. So there's a chat box on the right-hand side if you're watching on uxdx.com, or you can put your comments on YouTube, LinkedIn, whichever platform you're watching on. And we'll put those questions to the speakers at the end of their talk. So please do share anything that you would like a bit more clarification on, or maybe it's just something specific to your context that you would like to know. Now, sometimes we can't get through everything because sometimes we have far too many questions come in. And that's why we have the UXDX community Slack group. And in there, one of the channels is Ask the Speakers. So anything we don't have time to get through today, we'll put those questions in the Ask the Speakers channel, and we'll ask our speakers to go on in there and answer them for you. But that's enough of an introduction. You're not here to listen to me talk. So I'd like to introduce our first speaker for the evening. So Kartik will be talking about the importance of product discovery and strategies to conduct. So welcome, Kartik.
Thank you so much for the nice introduction. And thank you so much, UXDX community, for giving me this opportunity to express myself on an importance of a product discovery. Right, so let me share my screen very quickly. Please let me know once my screen is visible.
Yep, it's visible if you want to just present. Well, yep.
Sure.
Okay, so
Let's
I'll
go.
hand over to you. Thank you.
Awesome. So now, we every single one of us knows, right, about a product discovery. But let me introduce my organization first. A very quick introduction for my organization. I am from Rapidops Solutions Private Limited, based out in India, and we are into a business of transforming with data and digital products. And I would like we are an organization of 15 years old, and we are into this digital transformations with AI and machine learnings and into digital products from so long. So I will be talking on importance of product discoveries and strategies to conduct. And the reason why I have chosen this topic, right? Based on my experience so far, uh, we always have seen a transformations in deliveries, right? If we talk about product deliveries, we every single organizations or every single person only talks about product deliveries, and at the same point of time there are lot many organizations, and we have actually evaluated ourselves and transformed ourselves from waterfall to an agile into a delivery part, but we always have tend to miss out on a discovery as usual. And that is the reason, right, I would be sharing some mistakes down the line, that what actually can impact us if we actually ignore the product discovery. So let me move ahead. So let me introduce myself first. I'm Kartik Dhokaai. These are the list of events where I have talked. I am a TEDx Port Blair speaker, which is based out in India. I'm Agile Mumbai conference speaker for I am Ratak and I am Vishkapatnam. So these are the business institutes where I was invited to talk on Agile. I'm a speaker for Agile Network India, Lean Peach, and Steven Forum. And what I like to do is people grow in agile mindsets, help customers to deliver the faster results, defining go-to-market strategies for the products, and obviously keeping myself fit. Right. And I always believe that giving good to the universe and get back the best from it. So this is what it's a small introduction about me. So now let me move forward. So these are the statistics, right? As we are able to see the statistics that only 2.5% of an organizations is able to complete the project 100%. And that's a very less numbers into percentage when we see, right? But there are 27% of the project cost gets overrun. 45% of the projects are incorrectly calculated and exceed the budget. 56% of the projects bring less value to the end users than was expected. So these are the statistics, high level statistics, which I came across while I was doing some research. Well, the projects is not able to get succeed because of product discoveries, right? And this is what actually hampered me and triggered me as well to share some more thoughts around it. And these are some of an experience which I also came across while we guys have executed so far, because I hold 12 plus years of experience now into IT industries. And even I came across this sort of a problems where we were not able to deliver the projects because of a lack of a discoveries, because lack of the knowledge, or because of the things we were not having a clarity. It's not into our organization, but like down the line, the observations which I have carried forwarded from my 12 years of experience, I just wanted to make sure that we don't we actually add some more values towards us. And this is the statistics which I came across. So what is the product discovery, right? So a very quick round of an definition probably which I have came across while I was surfing for product discovery is it's nothing but an evidence informed process of reducing uncertainty as you find problems worth solving and solutions worth building, right? So it's more about we have to find a problem which is worth solving, and it's more about a problem focus and not a solution focus. And again, it's not only about focusing on the problems but also the solution worth building it, and it emerges through the series of an non-linear activities conducted as a cross-functional team. So this is what the product discovery is all about, where we would be defining that what exactly we need to build on, right? What is the problem statement? Are we focusing the right set of problems? Are we conducting a problems which is supposed to get resolved? Our solutions which we are trying to build it across is actually required to our end customers or not, right? And the product discovery, most of the people and most of the organization thinks that it's a kind of a job which is only required once before we kickstart the project, but that's the biggest myth. The reason is the product discovery is an ongoing. We have to keep on doing the discoveries till the time we are able to make sure that the product is able to sustain for a longer run. And that's where product discovery would keep on adding a value. The more you do the product discoveries, the more you do the product, you understand the customers, and more you add a value to the customer table. And that's where you would our organization will be able to survive, and that's where the product will be able to survive uh, when we are actually launching a product into the market. So that's where the importance of a product discovery would come into the picture. So from the image itself, we would be able to identify that what are the things we have to do. We have to use the blueprints, we have to draft it, the wireframings, we have to write enough the notes, we have to bring some insights, we have to do like customer interactions. So there are a lot of things which we have to do. So uh, so these are the things what we have to do to figure it out, that are we actually solving a right set of a problem for our customers. So that's the product discovery, and the importance of product discovery, which we have to make sure that we are adding a value to our end customers, right? So the product discovery is nothing like deciding what to build, right? We have to make sure that we learn fast. So how do we make sure that we learn fast? Most of the times, right, whenever we are trying to build a product, or any of the project managers or a product managers are trying to build a product around it, they always figure it out that like their customers or the stakeholders are happy or not. right? They, most of the product manager never think that their customers are happy. They always think about their stakeholders. But we might or sometimes forget it out that our customer is also our stakeholders. So we have to make sure that it's not only our the co-founders or the top management of our organizations is happy, but at the same point of time we also have to make sure, we have to think from the end customer standpoint, that are they happy, are we adding a value to our customers, right? Do our customers will be able to use our product which we are trying to build it out? So the next point is like, can customer use it, right? After that, like, do customers want our solutions? Like, it's not only about building it, it's also about whether a solution is required by the end customers or not. Have we identified the right set of problems? Have we jotted down the right set of solutions, right? So that's where we have to keep on we have to keep on asking these questions, that uh, are we meeting the stakeholders need? Can customers use it? Do customers want our solutions? Are we solving a problems customers care about, right? And are we driving a desired outcome? So we always think that we would be needing an XYZ as an outcome. But do have we identified the right set of problems, or have we identified the enough amount of experiments is done? So like there is another technique which we would be using. It's like an opportunity solution tree. So this is opportunity solution tree, which is nothing but it's kind of a decision tree, and every single one of us would be well versed around this. So the green box which is highlighted, right, that's the desired outcome. So have we identified the desired outcome? So if a desired outcome is freezed, are we very sure, if you are very sure that what sort of a solutions we wanted to which sort of a problems we wanted to address it, and what sort of a solutions we wanted to provide to our customers, that's a desired outcome, right? And after desired outcome, we have to figure it out an opportunity. So this is like, some of the people would always uh, feel that like the problem should not call as a problem, so that's an opportunity for us, right? And that's where we have to identify the set of problems or set of an opportunities we as an organization has an like opportunity to address those problems, to solve those problems, right? And after that we would be identifying the solutions. So after identifying the problems, we would be having that, how many solutions do we have to solve one single problem? Because there would be, how we define a problem is also an art. It's not easy, because identifying a problem and defining a problem is an art. So we have to define our solutions accordingly. So how many solutions do we have? After that, like for one particular single solutions, how many experiments can be performed? So these are the sort of a solution tree which we have to make sure that we are actually picking up a right experiment or right solutions for write a problem to get a desired outcome. So that's a decision tree, and that's again, it would be kind of like try and error, because it would not be always that if you pick up a right or a first experiment for a first solutions, that might work, right? That might not work, or that might not be the right problem as well. So this is the thing where we have to keep on addressing, we have to keep on asking questions to ourselves as a product manager or as an organization, that are we addressing a right set of a problem? Are we actually making sure that whenever we are delivering any sort of a solutions, right, will be used by the end customers? Because if you are not delivering a solution which is being used by end customers, in that case customers would start losing interest from our applications, and they would start losing it. So if there is a less number of footfalls in our applications, in that case there would be less number of revenues as well. So we have to always make sure that we are addressing the right set of problems, again, with the right intentions, and like what sort of solutions are we providing. So the strategies to conduct the product discoveries, right, which I talked about earlier, that how we need to identify that we are actually conducting a right set of product discoveries. So, so there are multiple ways to conduct the product discoveries. It's like customer interviews. We have surveys, we have social media posts, existing product reviews. When we have an existing product as well, it's the product is already there into the market, we have to run sound experiments, we have to draw conclusion from good research experiments, and we have to do the alpha beta testing. So these are the number of ways we have to do the strategies to conduct the product discoveries. The project on, or an example which I wanted to share as of now, like we were executing one machine learning project, And we were having a good customer interviewed. We have interviewed a lot of things, and we have identified the product designs, and we have finalized the user experience and everything. But now there was a challenge even after doing that as well. And the challenge was, it was nothing from our end, but it was all of like the stakeholders got changed, right? The one who was driving that particular project, all of a sudden there was a new person who was driving that particular project now. And now the person who has joined us has altogether a different vision from the one who was already working with us. The one who was already working with us got promoted, but unfortunately the person has not transformed the entire knowledge that what exactly he have asked us to work on. And that's where we have to again conduct a customer interviews, and we have to again start with the initial processes which we have done for the product discovery. So that's where the problem is, like, we have to make sure that we are continuously doing the product discoveries at a regular intervals with small set of activities, right? So it's like, again, we have to do the exploration of the product, that are we actually exploring the right sort of a product, right? Again, we have to conduct the customer interview, and after that we came across that there are still a lot of problems which need to get addressed. So again, we have to perform the entire software development life cycle, that we have to go on a design part, we have to make sure that we are addressing the right problems, we are also implementing agile side as well. So these are the things which I feel that from past more than 100 years, based on my research, that we were not able to address any sort of a process when it comes to product discovery, right? Because we have evolved probably from past more than half like decade and a half on an agile front, where we are continuously improvising on delivery front, right? Because after like more than before decade and a half, we were doing like waterfall, and after that agile came into the picture. And earlier we used to do the deployments once in a year, or maybe twice in a year. But now these days, we all know that because of the Kanban and because of the CI/CD pipelines, right, we are able to probably do the deployments on productions like sooner as possible, wherever we want it, and it would be just on a click of a button. So that's where the delivery cycles has been improvised. That's where delivery cycles has been like converted from waterfall to an agile. It's like within no time we would be able to do the deployments. But in product discoveries, we are still struggling on that front. But yes, even after like even if we probably would see after 5 to 10 years, the product discovery methods or the steps which I have shared, right, the strategies would not change, because we would still be needing customer interviews, we would still be needing surveys, we would still be needing social media posts as well. So these are the things which we have to keep on doing it like the approaches can change, right? The patterns can change, but yes, the base, the vanilla flavor would remain the same when it comes to product discovery. So this is the problem which I feel, that we have to always when or we have to keep things in mind when we are precisely doing product discoveries. And most of the times organization feel that like delivery is the only thing which needs to get taken care of. But that is the only problem which we have, and because of that there are a lot of failures into the project execution as well, because we exactly don't know uh, why we are building this product, who is our end customers, how they would be using it. We would not be studying the user personas and anything if we are not actually going with the product discovery. And that's where exploration part comes into the picture. That's where we have to ideate it, we have to prototype it. So this is the like entire UI UX steps which we have to do it. Like after exploration we have to do the ideation part. Once the ideation part is done, we have to prototype it, we have to again deploy it, we have to make sure that we have a quick walkthrough with a few of the customers if they are comfortable using our application, right? We have to test it out, we have to get a feedback from our customers, and we have to keep on evaluating the product discovery. And that's where whenever we precisely add some things, we would keep on exploring the things, we would keep on adding the things, and that's where we would be making sure that we are actually adding a right set of values for our end customers. And that's where we would be reducing the churn of our customers from our applications, right? So what is an outcome of a product discovery? The outcome of a product discovery is nothing but is like we would be increasing the customer satisfaction, right? Of that increase in engagement to increase revenue and reduce the churn. So obviously when we do the product discoveries, right, we would be having less churn, and if we have the less churn, the revenue would get increased, right? Also we would be having the net promoting score, so that's an NPS score of an customers, right? Observations on what keeps customers engaging, so we would be keep on having a track. So this is what we have done for our application as well, because our application was more of an AI and machine learning. So we always used to capture the signals on our applications, so that we came to know that like where the customer is getting stuck, how we wanted to evaluate that user experience if customer is not moving forward from a detailed screen to precisely about on a checkout screen, right? So that's where actually we were able to evaluate it, what is stopping our customers not to get checkout. So that's where product discoveries and the signals help us out, right? And also the lower the financial risk for the customer. So if now let's take an example that there is one customer, enterprise customers with whom we were working, and that customer was actually having one liner problem that they wanted to build an application replica of XYZ application. I'll not name those applications, but like it's like XYZ applications. And so my first question was like, why do you need to build it? Because we already have an applications into the market and they are doing very good. And the next question was like, you don't know. And that is where we have to ask customers that why we wanted to build these applications. Is it really needed? And if it is really needed, right, what value we would be adding to the customer's life? Because eventually at the end of the day we have to make sure that if you build a product, if you build an application, we launch it out into market, in that case we have to make sure that we have a good number of customers getting like turning on to our application. So if they would be turning on to our application at that point of time, right, the revenue of our application would go on. And that's where we would at very early stage we would be helping our customers or end customers to make sure that they are not investing any precise any money into a wrong ideas into a wrong ideas, right, or wrong application. So that's where we can build a confidence into our product and services, and that's where the clarity on the product strategies and plan of actions will clear roadmap for the projects, right? So we would be getting the clarity on the product strategy, that why we are building it, for whom we are building it, and we would be having a next plan of action as well. If we wanted to build an application, what would be the clear roadmap? The product roadmap would be ready with us, right? The priorities of the product roadmaps would be defined, because we have to make sure that we also define an MVP, because we are, every single one of us know that in product development there is an MVP and we have to implement MVP so that we can start building an application, start launching it out, start earning revenues out of it, and start getting the feedbacks as well at the same point of time. So this is where if you have the clarity around it, if you have done the enough discoveries, in that case you can plan it out the MVP accordingly with a right set of priorities and right set of a plan of an actions as well, right? So post discovery deliverables, what we would be receiving is like detailed research report that what exactly we have user personas and user stories with us. We have executable scope of a project. So earlier, if you have not done the product discoveries, there would be a lot of ifs and buts from the customer standpoint. We would not be on the same page, and at the same point of time, we might lose our credibility in front of the customer. So we don't have to do that, and that's where we would be getting. If we have done the product discovery enough, we have invested a lot of invested a lot of time into that. In that case, we would be able to get the executable scope of a project. We have low fidelity and graphical wireframes, right? We have also clarity on the technical and not non-technical requirements, and we also have detailed timelines with the budget as well. So we, like, customers would be having a budget, they would be having the timeline, right? And we would be getting all these deliverables in place, so that we come to know, our development team comes to know, our like organizations from the technological vendor organizations would come to know, the customers would come to know that yes, exactly what needs to get delivered, everyone is on the same page, and everyone is happy while executing the things, and everyone is working and striving towards one single vision to make that particular product successful. And that's what we would be able to achieve it once we are able to have like post discovery deliverables. So these are the post discovery deliverables we would be getting it out if we have done the product discoveries nicely, right? And the conclusion is like our goal is not to write a good user stories or do good user story mapping, but our goal is to drive a desired outcome for our customers that creates value for our business. So that's the conclusion which I would be defining. And with the time constraint, I'm closing it off. And thank you so much for your time. The key is not spending the time, but it's investing it. So I'm open for questions if you have anything.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Kartik. That was really interesting. So
Thank
we
you.
actually do have a question from the audience in already. So Sissy has asked, thank you, Kartik, for sharing. Regarding the product discovery stage, how do we drive the desired outcome? How can I make the metrics if I'm the only UX designer in the tech team?
Uh, can you please come back with the question?
So I think, and Sissy, explain, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm going to paraphrase your question, so
Okay.
please do let me know if it's wrong. But it's if you're the only UX designer in the team,
Mhm.
how can you put in place some kind of metrics or something that will encourage the rest of the team to do some more product discovery?
Okay. So the question for that answer is like if you are only the UX, right, and the product discovery is not that alone UX person is responsible. With while you are conducting a product discovery, you also need to have your product manager, right? You also need to have your technical team because you also have to make sure at the same point of time that what we guys or UX person is designing is it actually possible to get it implemented or not, whether it is a feasible to get it implemented or not, because it's not only about design, right? It's also about execution as well. So at the same point of time, it's like we also have to make sure that whatever guys the UX person is designing, it's also equally feasible to get it executed, right? So it's all about a kind of a metrics where we also have to make sure that we launch it out, right? We have to make sure that which sort of a business audience we are targeting, because again the user experience would differ from region wise, because if I'm targeting audience from the US region, right? There, like the pattern of using that particular application would be different from the Europe or from India, right? So that's where actually you have to make sure that what exactly you are building, for whom you are building, right? And do we really have an applications into the market? If yes, how you would be standing, how you would be having some unique thing into your application, so that the person who are actually using that the application which is there into the market, it like they are getting landed on your application and they start using your application. So that's where you have to make sure you have to take calls accordingly.
Great. And I guess so it's a great point about everybody has to be involved. It's not just one person owning
Exactly.
it. But how do you
Yes.
convince people? Like if you're trying to convince people and they're going, oh well, no, we've got a deadline. We just have to build. We have to build. We have to build. So how do you convince them that you're actually going to save time and build a better product by doing this?
Exactly. So in that case, like convincing people it's actually we don't have a concrete formula to convince people, right? It's all about, because every single person who is walking into a room, right, carry a lot of badges. So they have personal badges, they have emotional badges, they have political badges. So in that case, yeah, you have to play very smart while you are actually addressing those people, because you first and foremost, like we are not here for the personal benefits, we are here for an entity called an organization for whom we are working. We have to make sure that a customers is getting a right set of values for the money they are investing in us, right? And that's where actually we have to convince people that if you would not be there, right, we might have to choose someone else. And after that we have to keep on adding a value, because at the end of the day, like you cannot say completely no. It's all about how can we make and better applications working together just to make sure that our customer is actually getting a value for the investment what they're doing.
Brilliant. Well, I hope, Sissy, that helps you and kind of gives you some ideas on how you can try to pitch it to your colleagues and get them involved in doing some more discovery. So that brings us to time now, Karthik, but thank you very much again for sharing. I really enjoyed it and I hope everybody out there did as well.
Thank you for giving me an opportunity.
Thanks. So up next, we have Anja, who will be talking about the future of experience design, Anja comes from Universal Robots, so I'm expecting that there'll be lots of robot-themed information in this. So welcome, Anja.
Thank you very much, and you're very much right. There will be a lot of robot information as well here. Jump right in and try to share my screen here.
Great. I can see it all perfectly now, so I'll hand over to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the introduction here. I'm going to talk about the future of experience design. And first of all, my name is Anja. I'm head of UX and product design in Universal Robots. I've been with Universal Robots for about 2 years now. I have a background in e-commerce, advertising, and consulting, and I have plus 20 years in leadership. At home here, I have 3 kids, Sophus, Theo, and Elliot. And I love to ski, I love water sports, running, architecture, and of course, Danish design. And I live in Denmark. And you might be sitting out there thinking, who is Universal Robots? Why is it interesting to talk about robots? Universal Robots is a robot company in Denmark. We have actually one product, and that's the one that you see here with the blue caps on. It's one product in one cobot arm. And the cobot arm is super interesting because it can fit into many environments. And that's also due to our name, Universal Robots. The company was founded in 2005 in Denmark. We have 40 to 50% of the cobot market. We have 1,100 partners in our UI ecosystem, and we are more than 900 employees here in Denmark. We have over 50,000 cobots sold all over the world. We have 20 plus offices all over the world, and we are, of course, part of Teradyne. And you can see here our revenue trend is really, really, really positive. So that's a little bit about our company. But what's the interesting thing is, of course, our products and how we discover products, how we develop products in our company. This is actually part of my family. This is part of the Universal Robots family. So the products that you see here is the products that we have on the market. And of course, you can see that they have different sizes, but they also have different names. Their names belongs very much to how much payload they can actually lift. So you can see the smallest one is 3 kilos, and the biggest one, which is also the newest one, is 20 kilos. So that's our UR20. If you look very, very closely at the picture here, you can see that we have a lot of baby blue, and that's our brand color. But you can also see that there is a development in the products from what they were before, when they were really rounded and they had those round blue prints on. And now you can see the new product that we have here. It's much more smooth, and the design is much more smooth in the way that it looks. The cobot here is about the same height of a person, so about 170, and it weighs actually 64 kilos. So it's quite a big cobot that you have to work next to here. Together with the product is also a teeth pendant. It's like a tablet that you can see to the right. In that we have an interface that you use to control the cobot. That's also part of the team that I'm working with. We also have the responsibility to design the interface here. And then you can see the control box down underneath, which is also part of our product. It's not a beautiful one, but it's needed to connect the cobot, of course. Besides that, we also have responsibility for the website of the company. We have a lot of services. We have a lot of service and support. We have service and support sites, etc., etc. And all of that goes into our team in Universal Robots. So the UX and product design in Universal Robots is actually supporting all our value streams and all our product teams in the different products that they are actually working with. In Universal Robots, we have a purpose. We want to create a world where people work with robots, not like robots. And we can ask ourselves, what does it actually mean? Yeah, it means that we have to automate all repetitive tasks that is dirty, dull, and dangerous. So what does it mean? It means that our product fits into production areas, fits into making coffee, all of the things that you can do over and over again. And that is not needed that you do that, because it doesn't need anything that is interesting. It doesn't need you to be creative. It doesn't need you to be innovative to do that. It's just something that can be done over and over again. So the thing that we actually want to do with our purpose is that we want people to spend less time on simple tasks that can be automated and more time on being creative, thinking of new ideas, solving challenges, and of course, collaborating. And that's super interesting. And that's what we think can actually make a big difference in the world if we can come to that point. And why is that? And why is it interesting to look at? And I think that is interesting to look at because if we look at the future work generations, we can see how it's actually developing out here. We can see that there is a change in the population from 2021 to 2050, which means that there's a huge change in the user behaviors as well. I've just taken some of the countries out here, and maybe you are in a different country, but at least I think it's very, very interesting to look at the USA and the China when it comes to people for 85 years plus, that there's a huge development there, meaning that we will have more elderly people there. I also think that it's interesting to look at, for instance, Japan, where you can see that people between 65 to 85 years is actually decreasing. So with only 1%, of course, but it still is a huge problem when the people over 85 is actually increasing with 61%. So this means a lot to the way that we are working. And of course, our robot fits into a working environment. And that's why it's interesting to look at this. So it means that we will all live longer and we'll have to work longer as well. So there will be more old people, and the old people that we are talking about is, of course, ourselves here. So it requires that we can work smarter and not harder in the future. And that's why we think it's a really, really good idea to automate. Just to say that it's not only to promote our product here, I also wanted to share some of these slides that I have from trend hunter Jeremy Gutsche. He talks about what will happen post-pandemic, and he said that actually post-pandemic trends is, of course, if you look here in the first picture, that business, that there will be automation of labor. And then if you look at the same time at life, the things that he sees in the future is that we want to make up for lost time, because we lost sometimes during the pandemic, and we want to have a better output going forward here. So how to actually prepare for it? In business, we could automate everything. That is really, really positive in my company, because that's actually what we want to do, but we want to do it in a good way. But in life, what is it that we have to do? We have to create an experience. So imagine if we could take those two things and put them together. So automate and create great experiences. Then we can actually make a difference in people's life. So that's very much back to our purpose as well. I think it's also interesting to look here at the tensions of prioritization, where you can see that business is robots versus people, and in life, it's products versus experience. So experience and products is not actually linked. It's not only linked together, but it can be linked together. So that's an opportunity as well, as we as UXers, we have to think a lot about how can we actually link those two things together so that we can make a difference out there. When we look at future generations and how they will work, it's also super interesting to look, for instance, at their learning style. Some of the things that they have in their learning style is that it's, of course, interactive. That's, of course, and it's multimodal. It's virtual as well. And I think it's also interesting to look at their generation Y, Z, and generation Alpha, what they would actually like of music devices. The first generation has the iPod, of course, from 2001. Then we have Spotify from 2008. And then we have the smart speakers from generation Alpha. So what does it actually mean? It means that, of course, when generation Alpha comes out, they have an expectation that everything is controlled by voice, that you can have a voice recognition and all of those things built into your products as well. And that's something I think is very, very interesting when we talk about the future user experience. How can we actually help that? So what we have to do as designers and UXers is to let us design products that does not only cover a functional need, but also provides a unique user experience. If we can melt those two things together, I think that we can really form a cool product and a cool future for all of us. So how do we do that? Yes, of course, we have to include the user in the product discovery. And I think actually, Kartik, you just talked a lot about that, how to do that going forward. I have one example that I love so much, and I want to share it here today as well. And that is about when the Bell system was actually founded back in the 1960s. When they found out how to do this, they sat down and they took a lot of good people and a lot of good engineers and said, okay, can you please look at how should the phone look like going forward? So you already know this from looking at your phone and also from growing up and having different phones. Then they did a lot of testing here. So they put a lot of things down. And you can see that if you look at the bottom here, there is one that they actually preferred. And that is the one where the numbers is from 1 to 5 and from 8 to 9 and then 0 in the end. So if people have to put in, for instance, an 8-digit number, it's the one that they prefer because it's very, very obvious to see the numbers. It's very easy to see the numbers. So that's, of course, a good user experience. But then on the other hand, what they did was that they say, okay, if you have to put in those numbers, and they gave them tasks where they had to put in different numbers, then they could look at how fast could they actually solve the task. And then they could see that there was one that was actually better. And that's the one that you have in the middle with from 1 to 3, 4 to 6, and 7 to 9, and then 0 in the bottom. That's much faster when you have to put in an 8-digit number. So of course, that's interesting. Because what a fun fact here is that this push button telephone set has been used over 40 trillion times. And by choosing the fast solution instead of the preferred solution, the world has saved 1 billion man years. I think that's just brilliant. And I think that's something that we have to keep in mind when we work with design and UX. How can we actually optimize that? How can we actually optimize our products and our solutions? So we're not only the preferred solution, but we're also the fastest solution. So my next question is, imagine what a huge difference universal robots can make in the world with the right UX. So if we can nail it, and if we can make a great UX on our products, and we can actually help to get things automated, imagine all the people that we can set free and all the good brain power that we can actually help release. But we have to remember that the user does not only know their future needs, so we need to help them here. And I want to tell you a little bit about how we work with that in Universal Robots and let you into our little family here. So in UX and product design in Universal Robots, we have a vision. We want to make everybody fall in love with our brand, our company, our product and solution. And then we have 3 examples of that, which is pretty common, I think. We want to create the amazing design like Apple, who doesn't? We want to give the unique user experience like Tesla. And then we want to be universal like Universal Robots. And then you can say our mission to this is that we want to lower the barrier to automation. So it's actually more simple to automate. And we want to do that by focusing on the user in our design, in every touch point, in our UI experience, in the use of our product and services, by designing for, with, and to the user. And I will come back to during my speak here a little bit about how we actually work with that. And what I see is some of the really interesting things in working with this, how you can form some basics and some fundamentals that the product managers and the people who actually have to develop the products can work together with. So design can be a much more integrated part of product discovery. In Universal Robots, we have also built a design philosophy, and the design philosophy is our story. It tells a little bit about what we came from and where we are now. It tells a lot about the design values in our company. It tells about aesthetics and materials that we would like to use in our products and that we would like to have people to feel when they are using our products, and the feelings that they have, the structure that they can feel in their hands and so on. Everything like that is described in there. And then it says a lot about that we want to be approachable and we want to be innovative, because one of the things about working with robots is that it's often something that people are very, very scared of. So of course we want to take an approachable touch here and say, okay, we have to make something that is actually interesting to get close to. And that's also why we choose the baby blue color for our products, because blue is like the sky. Blue makes you feel free. And blue is also something that people can relate to. It's not dangerous in any way. So that is something that is very important to us as well. And then, of course, it's a foundation for all the design that we have to do in Universal Robots as well. Along with our design philosophy, we also have an experience philosophy. And the experience philosophy tells a little bit about what is it that the user should experience when they are in contact with Universal Robots. So in every touch point we have with our users, what experience is it that we would actually like them to have? I'll come back to that a little bit later, but it's because that we use it very much when we talk about our customer journey. And in the customer journey, we want to remove friction, but we also want to keep some friction there because we want to keep some good touch points with our user and some possibilities to actually have a connection to our users going forward. So that's why an experience philosophy can also help here. The best thing in creating the next level unique user experience is that it cannot be copied by anyone. So of course it's individual, and of course it's something you have to sit down and form yourself. What is that's important for your company? But if you do that very, very well, I believe that everybody can create a unique user experience. And when you have a unique user experience, you put yourself into a very, very good point in the market because it cannot be copied. And that means that you are actually setting your own direction. You can actually take a lead here, and that's pretty unique. I have decided to also talk a little bit about areas of expertise here, and I will go through a little bit about our future trends, the future trends that we see. I will talk a little bit about our design research, how we work with that, our interaction design, how we work with that, and our visual design, how we work with that. These are the three areas that I think UX actually stands of, and UX and product design. So if we have those things covered, then we are actually able to make the great design. We are actually able to interact with the user. We are able to look at the user, and we are able to communicate all of this to the full organization so that everybody has a possibility to actually develop products. Then you can say, of course, trends, the future trends as well, is also super, super important that we look into that, especially when it comes to future technologies and so on. It's super important that we also understand what is that and what's the possibilities there. So that's also interesting when we talk about UX and great product design. And coming to the future trends, I've just taken a few trends here because I think there are tons of things out there, and I think everybody can talk about this for hours, so I won't spend much time here. But I'll just say that the future trends that I think is super interesting to look into right now is, for instance, sustainability. I think it's super important that we actually try to make a clear picture about transparency, about our sustainability aspects. So what is it actually that we are doing with our products? It's our responsibility right from the product is born until the product is not used anymore and actually has to be taken away again. We need to make sure that we have a good sustainability footprint in that, and we actually understand that. Then I heard this one the other day, go beyond compliance and add sustainability to innovation. And I think it's really, really a good way of saying it because it says the barrier higher for the people working with UX and product design. It's not just something that we have to say, okay, everybody else is doing this, then we will also do something sustainability. No, we have to add it in, and we have to think of it in a new and very, very innovative way so that we know that we can set the new standards going forward to this. I think that's inspiring. Social responsibility. Do not build mechanism to make the user stay longer. I know that many companies would like to do that because that will probably make them possible for them to earn even more money if they can make the user stay longer. But if the user does not get any profit from this or do not earn anything from this, I think it's not a good responsibility that you're taking. I think it's not social responsibility. So when I see people being addicted to looking into their phones and so on, I'm thinking about, do they actually have a good life? Do they actually get what they want here? Can we help them to actually get a better life? And I think that's also interesting from a UX design perspective. How do we deal with that going forward from here? Yeah, make sure not to misuse our users' time and effort for the good of the product stakeholders. And then, of course, AI is always super, super, super interesting. I think there's so many good talks out there about AI right now. What is it that we want? And I think the most important thing is the right content here, that we make sure that we can gather the right content when you talk to a chatbot, when you use AI to create pictures and all of that. So help it the best we can. We also have a responsibility there as UX and product designers. One of the fundamentals that we have in Universal Robots is, of course, our design system. I think our design system is very, very unique, and I have a really, really cool team of designers behind me working with this every day, and they are really, really strong in setting up the design system. The way that we like to look at the design system is like a bunch of Lego blocks here. And then you can say, okay, you can build from those Lego blocks. You can build different stuff. You can sort the Lego blocks, and then it will actually make it easier for you to build different things. So that's kind of the same way that we look at our design system. Everybody can build a cool design, but if we try to make a structure around it, then you can make it even better, and you can probably confirm it into even more different things. So we have the design language, which is a color palette, a type scale, and all of those things. And we try to organize that so that people can easily build from it. And that's the same thing about the UI components and the guidelines and patterns. So a structure to this makes it easier for everybody in the organization to actually build the right products. And it makes it a lot easier for us to actually keep the holistic overview, because everything is developed from the same thing. So that's super important as well. Then we have the research system in our organization as well. And that is, of course, going out and asking the users, what is it that they want and how do they validate our products? We are collecting information here, we are understanding information, and we are communicating information. And in order to do that the correct way, we have some tools that we are using in the different areas. I think it's super, super, super important to remember that the user does not always know what they want, but you can ask them many questions and you can get very, very good directions when working with this. So we have a set of researchers working in Universal Robots working with this, and we have some insights people who are actually looking at what is the findings here, trying to cluster them and generating insights from that. So we know exactly what it is that our customers want. That also puts us down to some behavioral archetypes that we have tried to describe. I will come back to that in a second. But also that we can actually draw a customer journey map for our users, because we understand our users. We have a really good picture of what it is that they are doing. So the behavioral archetypes can be described like this. This is the way that we have tried to describe it. It's what, who do what, and why do they actually do that. And you can see here that we actually have 5 different archetypes that we have tried to describe. And when we have done this, we can tailor our business goals towards them, and we can have a better understanding of the different mental models. We can actually consider all archetypes when designing a solution. So when we are going to form a product, we can actually say, okay, how does it relate to this archetype? How does it relate to this archetype? And how will this archetype probably relate to it? So that gives us an opportunity to also form different products for different users, but also look at our products from different angles when we have to discuss if it's a good product or not. Then I just wanted to talk a little bit about the customer journey. I think it's very, very obvious that it's a good idea to sit down and draw a customer journey. And I think when you do that, you can have just a very, very simple illustration like I have here on top, where you have different phases where you can put in what is it that your customer journey looks like. And when you do that, I think it's super important to say, okay, in awareness, for instance, what is the friction here? What is it, the problems that our users are actually facing? And then try to smoothen the customer experience. So create a great experience, try to make it even better. Try to see what is it that will actually help the user the most. When you do that, some people can have a tendency to try to say, okay, I remove all friction. I just make it frictionless. And it's just something that people can just do online or something like that. I don't need any kind of contact. That's our goal. It can be that to some extent, but you have to remain some touch point in your user journey as well, because a touch point is also a possibility of giving a better user experience in the future. And it's also a possibility of actually selling more to the user. So if we push the user up so high that we remove all friction and all touch points, then we know we don't have an opportunity to be in contact with the users. I think that's one of the problems that Tesla actually has out there. Yeah. So I would actually recommend that everybody draws a customer journey like that, tries to understand it, and also maybe tries to understand it for the different archetypes. So it can look different from the different archetypes, the customer journey. So understanding it from that perspective as well will also give you a better possibility of creating better products for your users, because you actually have an understanding of where they are and how they're actually reacting in the customer journey. The last thing that I want to say is that I believe that in the future world where basic needs are covered and people buy experiences, they will prioritize great customer experiences over greed for satisfying different shareholders. And I think that's super, super, super important. And I think it's where we can all make the biggest difference, and we all have a big responsibility, because we can advocate for the users and we can design for, with, and to the users in a sustainable way. And if we can all agree on that, I think we can actually change the world as UXers. So I think we are in the most exciting period of time. I think it's very, very interesting to work with this subject, and I hope you enjoyed here. I wrote here as well that you are more than welcome to connect on LinkedIn. You are more than welcome to ask questions to me on LinkedIn as well. So I hope that some of you will take the advantage of doing that. Yeah. So I think I will end here.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much for that detailed overview of how Universal Robots works.
Yeah.
So thanks for sharing that. Yeah, if anybody has any questions, just post them on whatever platform you're using. I did have one that you mentioned early on in it, that if you do a good experience, it can't be copied. Whereas I was like, well, I could analyze how you're doing something and copy it. So what do you really mean by it can't be copied?
I mean that if you are the first one who does it, then I think even that people are copying it, then it's still unique for you. So I think that's what I actually mean. Then you actually take ownership there, and then you have a possibility to be the ones that gave the user that experience. And no matter who tries to copy it afterwards, the user will still remember, okay, I got this experience with this company first. So I think that's super, super interesting. I think if you think back, or if you think about cars and so on, I think, for instance, Tesla have done something really, really interesting in this way that they have developed their user experience. And no matter what will happen in the future, and no matter what company I'll get into contact with, I will still remember, okay, this is the experience I got here. But it's because they did something that is unique. So I think that's the saying there, and I think that's super interesting. So trying to get to that point where you're different from everybody else, that's a goal as well.
Excellent. No, it's a good one. It's always that kind of eternal challenge in business. Do you get the first mover advantage, or do you try just be a fast follower?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Yeah, another question, just touching on the automation, like that trend. I just love the stat of a billion years saved. Like that is phenomenal. But one thing that the last year really surprised me, and I think a lot of other people, was AI came along and it leapfrogged where we thought it was going to go. Instead of kind of doing our cooking or things like that, it went straight into the kind of the creative jobs and started writing and drawing images. So bringing it back to the physical robot, who, you know, the vision of having your butler in your house who's going to do your laundry and cook your meals and things like that, is that realistic, or is that something that's going to happen, or are we stuck for the next while with more factory style machines and robots?
I think you have to define the line here about when are we stuck with different things, but I think definitely it's going to come. And I think it's super interesting that it actually went into something intelligent as well. So I think you're totally right when you say that AI went into something intelligent, but I think it's still up to the user to use the AI correctly here. And that's the same thing with the cobots. So the cobots will replace a lot of people and will replace a lot of different jobs, but it doesn't mean that it will take away the jobs for the people. It means that people will be able to do something else. And I think that's the interesting development to look into, because that's really the new world. That is what is happening. So I think a lot of change have happened like that in the past as well, but we will see it. And hopefully it will come very, very, very soon, that this will actually change, because it will open up for tons of opportunities as well. When I work with cobots, I have many times people asking me, so don't you think that cobots will take away jobs for young people and so on, because they will not be able to do these repetitive jobs and so on? So what are they actually going to do if they don't have an education and so on? And I'll just like to say that I don't think that anybody has a dream about moving stuff from here to here or doing something like that. I think everybody has ambitions of something higher. So I think that's the level that we can actually help lifting people up to. And I think the AI and the cobots and everything that is coming with the new technologies is also going to help us here. So it's a totally new way of working. And that's super, super, super interesting to look into.
Yeah, no, it's it kind of, to me, it's the parallels with when schools started kind of coming about because people weren't sure what to do with the people if these steam was replacing a lot of the kind of automation in factories and stuff. So you had to educate people. So it's an area I'm quite interested in. How can we actually make schools right for the future instead of training kids just to learn things by rote?
Yeah, exactly.
Excellent. Well, just getting some praise in from Laura saying awesome presentation, Anja, just as I anticipated. So that's brilliant. But that brings us to time. So thank you very much for your presentation. I really enjoyed it. And I always love kind of future gazing as well. It always excites me because I'm an eternal optimist.
Of course. Thank you very much, and have a great evening, and see you soon.
Excellent. So that brings us to the end for today, but we do have an event coming up in the USA in May. So if you liked what you saw there today, we'll have 25 speakers looking to have up to 800 attendees. There'll be 8 workshops. And it'd be great if you could come along and join us, because it is such an amazing experience to get into the room with all of these people who are hungry and eager to improve their ways of working. And we do a lot of kind of activities to try get people mingling as well, and build your network that way. So if you did enjoy it, please do consider buying a ticket and coming to join us in New York. But if not, I'll see you again, hopefully, at the next UXDX online session. So thank you very much, and